All right, good evening, everyone. My name is E.R. Anderson. I am the executive director of Charis Circle. Charis Circle is a nonprofit programming arm of Charis Books, and Charis Books is the South's oldest independent feminist bookstore. We're so excited to be kicking off Valentine's weekend with all of you worldwide tonight. We have a great Valentine's weekend planned. I'll share more about that later, but we're kicking it off with Tasting Menu, a queer erotica reading. We have been thinking about this as a little tasting sampler. And this evening is organized by our old friend Sinclair Sexsmith. We are so grateful to Sinclair for bringing us now decades of beautiful queer and trans writing. Sinclair uses they them pronouns, is a queer trans butch, a leather dominant, and a writer. Their short story collection, Sweet and Rough Queer Kink Erotica, was a 2016 finalist for a Lambda Literary Award, and they've edited 5 collections of the best lesbian erotica series, as well as the lesbian BDSM erotica anthology, Say Please, and Erotics, the literary journal of somatics. Since 2000, they have run the online erotica writing group Writing Spicy at writingspicy.com. And you can find Sinclair in all the places online at sugarbutch.net. Find Sinclair. So I'll be dropping some of these links in the chat. We have an amazing lineup that Sinclair has curated for you tonight. And what we're going to do is have a reading, and then we'll welcome the next writer up. I'll share their bio. We'll get into it, have another reading. So for all of our folks in the chat, please treat this like, a place where you can clap, give our writers love, smutty responses. I know our code, people sometimes get confused at erotica readings. Our code of conduct says no unsolicited sexual comment. What that means is do not send people things, like don't take someone's email address and send them unsolicited imagery, right? Like no dick pics is really what that means. But we're all adults here, and so you are allowed to say spicy things in the chat, just not directed at strangers in a harassing way. So I think everybody gets the drill. Enjoy yourselves. We're gonna enjoy each other, and we're so glad you're here. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring our buddy Sinclair up to the mic to kick it off.
Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited that you all are here. And I'm going to read you some recent smutty things that have come out of my brain. I'm going to start with a piece that's called You'll Take Whatever I Dish Out. And it has some impact play, flogger, whip, some beating with fists, slapping, face slapping, a little bit of suffering, some skin breaking, just a little, and a brief mention of blood, biting, crying, catharsis. So if that is not your thing, feel free to, mute this or take a pause, but just letting you know that that is what is coming up. And I'm going to read that piece, and we'll see what else we read after that, basically. All right. They wanted to suffer. That's what they asked me for, to scream and cry and resist, to yell no, to beg for me to stop, and to have me keep going. They have safe words, of course, yellow and red, and safe word will always be universal when I play, regardless of negotiations. If someone says those, I will, at the very least, pause to check in. But this time they told me their safe word is mercy, and if they start begging for mercy, then they really can't take anymore. They asked me to be brutal, to be mean, unrelenting. Rain blows down on their body whenever they were exposed. Leave them bruised up, aching. To attempt to crawl away from me as I kick them with the biggest boots I own. To use my flogger and whip and my fists. To go after my own catharsis. To release my musculature when I put my entire torque of my spine, hips, shoulders into the beating. They wanted to show their devotion through suffering, through crying, through letting me give as much as I could. It starts slow. They're against the wall, elbows braced, legs open. I warm them up with the flogger. It's the nicest toy I'm planning to use today. After I find my stride, I pick up the pace, pick up the depth of the hits, pour more muscle into it. Whipping it between their legs, deliberately wrapping around to hit their chest. They start grunting with every blow. That's how I can tell I'm starting to get the right level. So I step it up. They start flinching, gasping, curling on their toes, convulsing their body, and shying away from me. I give them time to recover. Sometimes it's best if they're relaxed. My aim is more true, but I can feel that edge in me that is ready to tip over and unleash the sadist I kept choked tight. Because that's what they asked for. Just a little bit more and they will get it. They start curling up more, closer to the wall, twisting to escape me. I hook my flogger to my belt and start using my fists on their back, slapping their arms, pushing their head into the wall as I use my right cross to get my weight behind it, twisting, torquing from my hips, sweat starting to bead on my forehead, on my chest. They don't like the slapping as much. It stings. They flinch and cringe, making beautiful little ah and ow and ouch and fuck noises, little whimpers from their mouth when I pull back and wait. I lean forward and bite the back of their neck, slowly sink my teeth in, hoping it'll leave a bruise, a mark. I work my jaw a little to bite deeper, to let up, then bite deeper again. They gasp, arching their back, hitting the wall with their hand, chest shoved into the wall now, writhing against me, but they have nowhere to go. I pull back and they whine, breathing hard. I punch into their back again. Quick blows, left, right, left, right. Their cheek is against the wall and they absorb each one. I can feel their body loosen and quiver as they accept the pounding and sensation. They're getting lost in it. So now it's time and I get out the whip. The first blows fall harsh, like lightning cracking against their back, leaving stripes. Their wingspan opens, hands open wide, palms against the wall. They start to wail. More blows. They gasp, no, gods, I can't. You can. I growl into their ear, gripping their hair, and I hit again and again. They slide down the wall. They curl onto the floor, trying to protect themselves, but just giving me their back as they wrap their arms around their face. I can't. I can't is not a safe word, pretty little thing. I swing, snap. Again, crack. They writhe and cry out and wail. You need this, I tell them. You need to break open and bleed for me. I can't. Please. Take it. You asked to see me unleash my strength on you. You wanted to cry and scream for me. Please, please. You'll take whatever I can fucking dish out. I growl into their ear. I trap their legs between mine as I kneel, slapping their face, their head, their hands. When they move to protect themselves, they're back, bleeding a little. They're crying now, tears streaming. Oh, gods, please, sir, this is what you asked for. This is what you're getting. Please, please, mercy, sir, mercy. They finally wail in a long cry, a long guttural release. I pause, my hands are still on them as I hold them with my thighs, stroke their arms, their hair. They cry until there are no more tears, and I wait, stay close, wrap around them. Finally, they sniffle and wipe their nose. Thank you, they say quietly as they turn and reach for me. Thank you. I'm realizing that I can't see the chat when I was talking because I had my words over it. But hi, I'm going to read you one more thing and then we're going to keep going on with our lineup. Thank you all for being here and listening. I'm going to read you a piece about a sir girl piece about boot play and boot worship, and there's some boot fucking and licking, but in the kink way, obviously, and a little bit of wetness and teasing and begging kinds of play with lots of dirty talk. I don't know. That's probably enough of a warning for this piece anyway. Show me, I say. I look down at her and hold her eye contact. She doesn't look away. She swallows. Show you what, sir? Show me, I say again, nudging her cunt with my boot. She's straddling it, my right boot, the tall knee-high Wescos I got out just for this occasion, pressing her wet pussy into the leather. How wet you are. She whimpers a little. Both her hands are holding my calf and she's on her knees. Her short purple skirt pools around her and I can see her thick thighs striped with red cane marks that will hopefully be darker tomorrow. Her chest is bare. Her little tank top with the thin crisscross straps is on the floor somewhere, and her tits are so perfect. The curve of them, the shape, the swell, and her pretty hard nipples make my mouth water. She's been rocking her hips to rub her clit against the toe of my boot, but she shifts her weight into her legs more and starts making bigger movements. I can feel when she gets just the right spot, so her lips open and her wetness slicks my boot, and now she glides back and forth even easier. Fuck. That's really good. You are already grinding against me, but now it's so wet. Are you dripping for me, pretty dirty girl? She whimpers again. Mm-hmm. She half moans, her eyes are closed. I reach down and grip her hair and touch my lips to her ear, and I say, "You're such a slut. To move your hips like that, polish my boot with your pussy." She says, "Yes, sir." "Show me again," I say, using my fist in her hair to move her on my boot, angling the toe of my boot up so she can use the curve of it. However, it feels good. "Show me how bad you want me." She cries out a little, thrusts against me in the way that feels like my toe cap is right at her opening. "Show me how you want to get that wet cunt fucked," I say. "Show me how you want my cock." She moans, "I want it. I want your cock, sir. Please, can I have it? You want it?" Thrust my boot between her legs harder and hold her tight by the hair. "Yes, please. Yes, I want it," she begs as she rocks against me and moans. "Is your pussy so empty?" "Yes, sir." "Is your throat so hungry?" "Yes, fuck, yes." "What do you want inside you?" "Your cock, please, your cock." "Did you polish my boot nice and pretty with your wet cunt?" "Yes, sir." She's quieter this time and a little embarrassed about how wet she gets. "Let's see," I say, and pull her hair again, encouraging her up. She moans a little in protest, but she shifts and stands. There's a dark, wet spot on my boot where she was riding it, even a couple drips down the side. And a growl starts somewhere low in my pelvis. "Fuck, that's so good," I say, dripping with lust and drive. I pull her to me and kiss her. "That's so good. Such a messy slut." She whimpers against my mouth, tongue, and lips, swollen and slick. "Now," I say, holding her for just another few beats in my arms, "go clean up the mess you made." I kiss her again, then push her head down toward my boot. She goes all the way to the floor, all the way on her belly, and starts to lick. All right, those are my two stories for tonight. I'm going to pass the mic back over to the rest of the team. I'm so excited y'all are here. Thank you for listening. I'll put the links to those in the chat.
All right. Thank you, Sinclair, for kicking us off. Quite literally kicking us off. Our next reader is Kiki DeLovely. And before we even start, I'm going to put a very special link in the chat because Kiki is making some art for the people that I think that y'all are going to love. So click on that when you can. But first, I want you to be listening to Kiki's writing. Kiki DeLovely is a witchy, kinky, polyamorous, mixed, non-binary femme who moonlights as an erotica writer when she's not weaving magic through energetic healing and spiritual coaching. Their work has appeared in dozens of publications, and they have toured both nationally and internationally, living and traveling all over the world before settling down roots on unceded Oshinichi Saponi land. Kiki strives towards erotica that reads as fine literature and connects us with our highest selves. More about their work can be found at Open Heart Active Healing. So, welcome, Kiki. We're so glad that you're here.
Thanks so much for having me. I am going to be reading an excerpt from a piece called Like You Always Say. It contains daddy girl, teasing, spanking, DS, mouth, and finger fucking. So, like Sinclair says, if that's not for you, please, take a break. Take care of yourself. with one hand flat between my shoulder blades, bending me over the back of the sofa. They make good use of the free one to flip up my skirt and cup me in their palm. I can feel the heat radiating off your pussy. A whimper followed by some fruitless wriggling about. I couldn't help it. My thighs jiggled as their jeaned knee forced its way between my legs, commanding my feet farther apart. Now don't you dare drip on me. I jumped a little, contracting my opening, not quite sure how I could possibly obey. My lips spread so wide apart as they were. That's right, baby girl. Pucker up that sweet little hole for me. I felt warmth rising to my cheeks as they squatted down to get a better view. H-play is our favorite dynamic, and when I lean into this role, even as a seemingly mundane comment can get me blushing. But this level of lechery was enough to send all parts of my grown-ass femme self reeling. Please, Daddy, I begged, and my pussy begged harder. They dragged their fingers along my innermost thigh, patiently tracing where a panty line should have been. No, I don't think so. This was not playing out as I had imagined. Only naughty girls forget to wear panties. Truly bad ones don't wear them on purpose. A shock of cool hit all my wet spots as my skirt fluttered back down over my ass cheeks. You're just gonna have to decide. They walked away without even a glance back. Which one are you? The rules are ever changing. I am too much of a good girl, always wanting to make my daddy proud, following their instructions to a T. Without these new protocols popping up, they would never have reason to punish me. And I am a girl in need of punishment. Crawl to me. My face shoved against their crotch, gulping down their earthy scent, lips mouthing at the outline of their cock. That's enough. Denying me that pleasure, grabbing me by the jaw, squeezing so hard, I swear I can feel their fingerprints imprinting on my flesh. Such a bad, bad girl. Cupping my cheek in their palm, every movement in slow motion, until they break the sound barrier with the other hand, connecting with my opposite cheek, nerve endings prickling in waves, a throbbing that glimmers across my face. My cells hum with longing for this flavor of discipline. Naturally wound tight with a penchant for perfection, only the thud, smack, thwack of their hands can bring about an unfurling in me. I spiral into the beckoning embrace of subspace. Any lingering threads of space and time slipping away from under me, allowing me to fully occupy two conflicting spaces at once. I know they need this too. Know that it opens up a release valve in them as well. Know that by offering myself up as a bad girl deserving of discipline, I am embodying their good girl to the fullest. One could argue that it was me who invented this ever-changing game. Or maybe just my fault for sparking the idea. The baby girl in me can't help it. When she's tickled by something clever, it comes gushing out of her. Wordplay that won't be contained. Well, it's like you always say, Daddy. Promptly followed by something ridiculous my daddy has never said. A girl in the hand deserves two in the bush. Good things come on girls who wait. Little girls shouldn't bite off more than they can swallow. And they never fail to play along, chuckling and chomping at my bait. Never formally discussed over the years, this is how our play continually evolves. A kinky version of yes and, a shorthand for consent. I'm crawling into bed, about to reach for the covers, when their tone stops me. Hold on, princess. You know the rules for nap time. Gratification looming in their expression as my eyes scurry to pluck an answer from midair. Daddy needs a check if you're wet. Their hand already making its way between my thighs. I intently observe their face as they slip my panties to the side and two little rounded crystals come tumbling out, falling onto the sheet beneath me with a satisfying clink. Now the gratification is all mine. Proud that I haven't forgotten to wear panties this time, but prouder still to have thrown them off guard. Just a bit. So quick-witted, it's nearly impossible to throw my daddy off their game. Not that I would ever want to. I adore this game. But given that they're always switching up the rules for me, I like to return the favor by keeping them on their toes. So I delight in the fact that they've been caught off guard for a moment. The faintest glimpse of uncertainty, where to take this, flashes in their eyes before they carry on as if a wicked little crystal-shaped curveball hadn't just come tumbling out of my panties. Or two, as it were. Oh, my sweet little witch, what extra treasures have you got hidden away in your panties today? I mean, I know you're a gem and all, but this is taking it to a whole new level. Daddy, you give me sparkly feelings in my panties, so this just seemed like an appropriate addition. They smile at this. So do I. Orange calcite, and is that rhodochrosite? I give a little nod. Now, baby girl, don't you know by now that those are both water soluble? Yes, of course, Daddy. Why else would they be in my panties? I exclaimed excitedly, knowing something that will delight my daddy is about to tumble from my lips. I've got to activate them somehow. They burst out laughing at that, unable to contain their amusement any longer, giving my pussy a playful little slap. My cheeky girl. Pride and ownership radiating off their breath. I wait with an outward patience and inward eagerness to see what's in store for me. Turning the stones over a few times in their hand, they study them with the seriousness of a rare archaeological find. I'm in awe at how quickly, imperceptibly, they are able to shift the energy in the room. You know the rule about taking good care of your belongings. And just look, these pretty little crystals are all covered in your juices. shaking their head with the solemnity of a great catastrophe having just occurred in my panties. You're just going to have to learn your lesson and give them a good cleaning while you do. I don't have time to ask with my words, but I'm sure my eyes do a fine job. They answer with their fingers. Reaching up for my mouth, they penetrate my parted lips with the first crystal, my tongue instinctively rising to meet their fingers, cool, smooth, juxtaposed with rough warmth. They coat the stones and their fingertips with my saliva, rubbing against my taste buds again and again, daring to go just a little deeper with each thrust. My jaw adjusts to grant them greater access. Breath rough and ragged. Magic glides smoothly across my tongue. Fucked by the goddess, by Pachamama, by the earth herself. They tuck that bit of earth magic under my tongue before adding the other alongside it, separated only by the frenulum, as if these two little sublingual pockets were designed just for such a purpose. Daddy's gonna need you to hold on to them in your mouth while you take your punishment. Yes, sir. Unaccustomed to my new mouth companions, my response is laced with the slightest lisp. Careful not to swallow, baby girl. I suppose there's a first time for everything, even the most unlikely line coming from my daddy. They pat their thigh. I know where I'm meant to be. And I'll stop there for tonight. Thanks, y'all, for listening.
All right. Thank you so much. We now are going to bring up Rose Knottyrotica. Rose, I'm going to make you hear the big center. Rose is a Black lesbian kinky erotica writer who is an academic by day and a kinky gardener, cat mom, and crafter by night. Her goal in life is to awaken the erotic in your mind, and she does this even while the world is burning because she believes that pleasure is the ultimate manifestation of Black, brown, femme, and queer liberation. And when Black, brown, femme, and queer folks are free, we all get free. Welcome, Rose. We're so glad you're here.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. This is already such a wonderful event, so thank you for letting me be a part of this. I'm going to read a piece called Delicious. This is a story of two Black lesbians and a dominance and submission dynamic. There are also brief mentions of sex and nudity. Chris stands in front of the mirror, naked. She strokes her chin and leans in, looking at the left and then right sides of her face. Fresh out of the shower, she glows. Her dark chocolate breasts are free and unbound. The hair on top of her head is neatly faded and lined, while the hair between her legs is wild and untamed. Her kitten, who is partially dressed, is waiting closely by her side, kneeling before the altar that is her lover's body. Her offering, a neatly folded binder and a matching pair of silk boxers. She holds them slightly above her head as she waits patiently for her daddy to receive them. Chris smiles, but she makes her wait just a second longer before taking the offering and allowing her to lower her arms. Good girl. Their playlist is currently on one of Chris's favorite songs, one that she hums often, especially as she thinks of the precious one beside her, the one who makes her feel all giddy like a schoolgirl. She slides on the boxers and binder, followed by a pair of black dress pants. They still have to decide together which shirt, tie, and cufflinks she'll wear, but they have time. It's 4 o'clock and the dinner party doesn't start until 7. Plus, she wants to take her time and better coordinate with her kitten's dress, which of course is crimson. She pauses as she looks over at her kitten, who is only wearing red lace panties, stockings, and a garter belt. As she looks at those perky breasts, she runs the logistics in her mind as she thinks to herself that there may be just enough time. Time enough to press her kitten's face down against the dresser. Time enough to slide that beastly blue cock deep inside her from behind. Time enough to tap out a steady rhythm that will make her moan and shudder and come at least 3 times before they're even fashionably late. Michelle half listened to Shayla's animated voice while she shuffled through the stack of papers on her desk. She was looking for an address and a parking pass for the mediation that was happening in an hour. Are you even listening? Shayla whined. Yeah, girl, poetry event, got it. Why? Didn't you say you're tired of these dusty-ass fake doms in the city? Yeah, but what does that have to do with the poetry event? See, that right there is how I know you ain't even listening. Shayla was right. She had been talking for at least 15 minutes while Michelle gathered her things, all while trying to gobble down a chicken salad, her first and only meal of the day. Sensing her friend's frustration, Michelle stopped, took a deep breath, and then put the phone up to her ear. Okay, tell me again. Pretty please? Her sultry voice was smooth like silk, and few of her lovers, including Shayla, could resist her seductive charm, especially not when her lips are pressed so close to the receiver. You're lucky you're fucking hot, girl, Shayla said with a pouty huff. As I was saying, girl, let me tell you. Mika just told me about this stud on the south side named Chris, and she said after sexing her down all night, she was in a daze for 3 more days after that. Shayla paused, letting the silliness of that statement sink in. She said she almost knocked her whole coochie loose. Girl, you are too much, Michelle chuckled. It was absolutely silly, but she was listening. I'm trying to tell you, Shayla continued. She said she's never been sexed down like that ever, but that's not even the important part. Michelle laughed again. Sounds like the important part to me. So what? This chick's gonna be at the poetry event slanging dick? No, girl, they're running the poetry event. But check this. Mika said that while she was over there getting her back blown out, she saw all these floggers and cuffs hanging in the closet. Michelle laughed. Now, wait a minute. Why Mika not over there getting tied up and having her back blown out right now if it was so good? I need answers. Shayla snickered. Listen, that's why I'm calling you. Girl, Mika said this stud won't see her anymore, and you know how Mika gets. She's always cool the first few dates and then acts a complete fool after a while. They both laughed, knowing that's exactly how Mika acts. Shit, she must have a pussy that's pure sunshine because that girl's love life is a mystery. Okay, but how do you know they're down to play? What, you want me to go up to them and say, hey, you want to fuck me and beat my ass all night? Shayla snorted. No, girl, just go. Blend in with the crowd and socialize a bit. You know you never go out anyway. Maybe you'll get a chance to chat with this hottie and see what they're all about. Michelle chuckled. Still, she was curious. Chris ran her fingers over the countertops as she reflected on the poetry event. It was a chilly October evening, and a steady rain poured down outside as the crowd from the event slowly trickled out. She was pleased at the turnout. Still, she was thinking of going ahead and closing up early. Not many people just wander into a black lesbian tea shop at 9 p.m. She turned to the sink, and as she started to run the water, she heard the delicate tinkle of the bell ringing above the door behind her. Suddenly, her granny's voice came to mind. Daughter, be still and know this. What's yours is already yours, and what's not in your possession is already on its way to you. Chris believed these words wholeheartedly, but as she turned around, she was still surprised to see this woman dressed in a red knee-length coat with a matching red leather boots walking right through her door. Good evening, love, she said, a bit mesmerized as she turned to face the woman in red. She quickly gathered her wits before speaking again. How can I help you? Hi, I'm actually looking for a poetry event. Michelle's voice trailed off as she looked around the nearly empty room, her eyes landing on those of the barista as she sought a bit of reassurance that she was actually in the right place. I saw a post online that said it would be here, but I guess I must have missed it, she offered. Chris instinctively raised her right eyebrow to a sharp point, a subtle gesture, but one that Michelle would soon learn to heed. You mean the event that started at 6? She paused, letting the reality of that time sink in before speaking again. I'm sorry, love, but they've already cleared out already. Chris knew this because she was the organizer. She was also a stickler for time. But Michelle, with her overbooked calendar, also had a knack for misjudging how long it takes to cross Atlanta traffic. Tonight was no different. Her back-to-back consultations had run over, and even though it was already 7:45 when she left the office, she was still hoping to catch at least a small portion of the event. But seeing the nearly empty space, she felt embarrassed and somewhat deflated. Something also told her that this was not the time or place to give excuses, especially not to the warm but commanding presence observing her from the other side of the bar. She glanced at the barista again, noting the delicate wave pattern in her low-cut fade, the small black gauges that gently stretched at her earlobe, and the reassuring grin that spread across her face. But most importantly, she was captivated by her tall and sturdy build and those arms that could easily sweep her up into a bear-like hug. Their eyes met again, and she shivered as a wave of energy passed through her. She lowered her eyes nervously and began to trace her toe tip across the hardwood floor before catching herself mid-movement. Damn! What the hell is this? She thought, trying to gather her composure. Chris immediately took note. The sudden flash of shyness, the way that she tried to collect herself but failed, the way that she averted her gaze, the play was intoxicating. But she also noticed something else, the wave of disappointment that crept across her face, a major taboo. How about this? You look pretty cold and wet. Chris paused, still taking in the sight of her. I'll make you a warm drink on the house. Michelle was normally reluctant to take anything from anyone for free, yet standing before this towering figure with a welcoming smile, she was caught off guard. Sure, that would be great, she allowed herself to say. Great. Anything catch your eye? Michelle took a few steps towards the counter, peeling off her coat and snatching a few more glances at the barista while looking up at the vast overhead menu of coffees, teas, and other drinks. As she approached the bar, she couldn't help but notice the barista's sturdy hands and thick fingers. The image of those fingers pressing deep inside of her suddenly flashed across her mind. She was at a loss as she began to notice the throbbing sensation and the slippery feeling growing between her legs. Was it the way the barista called her love? The barista smiled as she continued to watch her squirm. Michelle settled down at the bar, amazed at the wide and exotic selections of teas and drinks. Slightly overwhelmed, she hummed this to herself a bit, chewing on her lower lip as she looked up at the list, slowly wading through it all. Chris quietly observed the woman in red. She wondered if this little one always chewed her lip that way whenever she found herself in a predicament. She also wondered what other delicious predicaments they could discover together. Well, I'm not much of a connoisseur, Michelle hesitated. Do you have any recommendations? Chris paused. How about a peach passion infusion? It's a black and hibiscus tea, but I've added peach bitters to give it a bit of a Georgia flavor. Chris said this with a grin. She was always proud of her concoctions, but even more excited to test out this flavor on the unfettered woman in red. Wow, that might be good. It's got a lot going on, but I'm always willing to give something new a try. Michelle flashed a warm but slightly skeptical smile. Chris smiled back. Coming right up, love. As the barista worked, Michelle took note of her careful and deliberate motions. She worked methodically, measuring the portion of the tea to exactly what appeared to be an exact amount, filling the press with just the right amount of hot water, setting the teacup and saucer precisely in the middle of the place setting, along with a cloth napkin and a delicate silver spoon. The tea needed a moment to steep, so Michelle stood up to explore the shop. There were books everywhere, as well as an abundance of lush green plants. The lighting was comfortably dim, and several paintings, Black women embracing, Black women grooming each other's hair, Black women dancing, adorned the walls. However, one image in particular caught Michelle's eye, a large, lifelike painting of an elderly Black woman holding hands with a little girl. The girl had a wide and toothy grin and 4 fat braids, each with a colorful barrette on the end. The woman's head was thrown back mid-laugh, and the girl danced about. Wow, what an adorable girl, Michelle said. Looking up from the tea, Chris flashed a bright smile. I see you have good taste. Plus, not many people have ever called me adorable in my presence. She smirked as she poured the tea, and Michelle's eyes went wide. Wait, that's you? She looked at the painting, back at the very much masculine presenting barista, back at the painting again. Perhaps she could see some resemblance if she squinted. Chris looked up amused, but as she flashed another wide smile, Michelle stepped back in shock. Yup, definitely you. Chris chuckled again, which was strange, since she had not been in the mood to laugh and smile lately, but something about the woman in red pulled this softer, more playful side out of her. Michelle came back to her seat, and as she pulled out her chair, they happened to catch each other's eyes. They both smiled shyly, and Chris glanced down at the teacup as she filled it to the brim. Here you go, love. I know you won't hold back, Chris chuckled as she gently pushed the cup towards the woman in red. But seriously, please tell me what you think. Chris grinned, and her eyes had a warm but firm intensity that sent a chill through Michelle's body. Michelle quickly picked up the cup, and after taking a sip, she paused, surprised by the mingling of flavors, sensations she had never experienced in this combination before. Strange but pleasant, something that leaves you craving more. much like this barista. Well, tell me how much you hate it, Chris teased. How could I hate someone puts so much care into, she replied. It's lovely, but I honestly don't know how to describe it though. She smiled as she took another sip. Well, it's something I worked on for a while, so I'm glad you're intrigued. Maybe it'll keep you coming back for more? Chris said this softly, somewhat nervously, as she watched the expression on the woman's face. Well, with someone as sweet as you serving tea, I'll definitely be back, Michelle teased, as she took another sip. They both made eye contact again, but this time neither averted their eyes. By the way, I guess I should introduce myself. My name's Michelle. Nice to meet you. She stuck out her hand, still warm from the teacup. The barista shook her hand, marveling at how soft and delicate her skin was. It's wonderful to meet you, Michelle. My name's Chris. Chris had never seen someone's eyes go so wide, nor had she ever seen a Black woman's face turn white, but Michelle did both as soon as she heard her name. Chris, you're Chris? She asked as if the air was being sucked out of her lungs. Yeah, something wrong? Michelle struggled, but finally managed to pull herself together. No, not at all. I heard that, Chris, you were the organizer of the poetry event tonight. She paused, looking around the empty room. But I thought everyone from the event had already gone home. Fuck, Shayla's not going to believe this, she thought to herself. Chris paused, a sly smirk crossing her face. Her spidey sense told her that there was something more to this story. Yeah, I own this shop, but I also organize events from time to time. She paused, still taking note of the changing expressions on Michelle's face. But, given how late you were for the event, she leaned in closer, lowering her voice. I probably should give you a few licks, huh? She said this with a wicked grin on her face. Michelle coughed, nearly spitting out her tea. Oh, just kidding, Chris chuckled, stepping back a bit. I only spank those who really want me to. She laughed, but her eyes were laser focused on Michelle, asking the question that still remained unspoken. Do you want me to? Michelle looked away, flustered. She could feel her pussy becoming wetter, her body already opening up, answering that question more enthusiastically than she could ever understand. Fuck, she thought, fighting another ripple of energy as she gathered herself. Chris watched her squirm, loving every moment of it. After a moment, Michelle found her words and composure again. She leaned forward. So, you like beating ass, huh? She teased back, looking again at those sturdy hands. Well, I definitely don't mind getting my ass beat, but she hesitated for a moment and then finally gave voice to what she really wanted to say. Only if you let me call you daddy. Chris flashed another wide, toothy grin as she tapped her fingers on top of the bar. We can make that happen, she teased back, her eyes sparkling in the dim light. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Rose. We really appreciate that. I felt Atlanta in that very much, so that was lovely. Um, our next reader is Laura Q. I'm going to go ahead and center Laura. Laura Q writes to honor the queer sex magic of hot as fuck T for T sexual connections, resulting in stories that have been described as gorgeous and tender, absurdly sexy, and kind of fucked up. She's currently working on a follow-up to her Lambda Literary Award-winning debut collection, A Tight Squeeze. Consider yourself warned. Welcome, Laura.
It would help if I unmuted myself. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I have a piece tonight that is about one of my favorite parts of non-monogamy. I think the only thing I'm going to mention about it is there's some mention of bruises and marks left by teeth and nails, but I'll leave the rest as a surprise. So this one's called 3:42 a.m. The familiar rolling click-clack of our front door unlocking wakes me with a start. The phone I'd fallen asleep holding lighting at the motion. Bleary-eyed, I look down at its too bright display in my hand. 3:42 a.m. Oh, he was out late. I blink away the sleep and tap the screen to activate it again. 2 missed messages. The last one from about half an hour ago, telling me on his way home. Shit. The hiss of running water jolts me out of bed and onto my feet in an instant. Babe? There's an anxious tremble in my voice. Fuck, I really hope I caught him in time. Seconds of uncertainty stretch breathlessly before the faucet squeaks shut and familiar footsteps pad their way across the short, carpeted hallway. Our bedroom door creaks ajar, giving me the barest glimpse of him through the crack in the doorway. You're still awake? He asks it all nonchalantly, forever oblivious to how the sight of even a sliver of his scruffy face can make my mouth water and cunt twitch. The words catch in my throat as he pushes the door open fully and steps into the low light of my bedside lamp. His hair, meticulously pomaded only a few hours ago, is a tousled mass, and his fingers look decidedly bare, bereft of their usually jangly assortment of rings. The crisp, white button-up that he ironed just this afternoon is rumpled, untucked, and rolled up past his elbows. Even through its thick, premium cotton, I can see his testosterone-deflated tits hanging freely beneath, his binder clearly abandoned at some point in the night. For everything he's wearing, though, is his smile, as self-conscious as it is self-satisfied. It tells me the most about the night he's had. Babe? He's still looking at me expectantly, his joyful expression faltering in the pace of my stupefied silence. My heart is racing, my clit is hard, and putting together a coherent sentence feels like a big ask, but I try my best to compose myself. Come here. I'd intended to give the words some cute come hither fry, but the hunger swelling within me drags my delivery down into a growled staccato demand. But I'm still all... He gestures vaguely down its disheveled state. Exactly. I can't wait any longer. Grabbing the front of his wrinkled shirt, I pull him toward me, spilling his back onto our bed and letting him fall on top of me with a heavy exhalation. Nestling my face into the nook between his neck and collar, I take a deep inhale and get my first hints of the story of his night. The irresistible funk of his sweat dominates, but after a moment I begin to place some of the other notes in the bouquet wafting from his warm skin. The familiar earthiness of warm leather, bright florals from a perfume I definitely don't wear, a lingering waft of stale nicotine from an illicit hours-old cigarette. Most of all, though, he's enveloped by a rich wealth of carnal, bodily scents that aren't his own. The heady elixir has me clawing at his buttons, desperate to push my face further into him and inhale the intoxicating musk more fully. He saves me the hassle of fumbling any further, whipping his shirt up and over his head in one fluid motion with practiced ease, and I cannot help the gasp that escapes me at the sight I'm graced with. His torso has been turned into a canvas. A loose ring of hickeys trace a shining crimson arc across his collarbone, while the first signs of deep yellow-purple bruising have already begun to flower around the perfect toothed indents sunk into both his tits. He sees me taking it all in, awestruck, and a mischievous grin spreads across his pretty boy face. With a slight turn, he angles his body toward the light, revealing the damage done to his back, where the telltale tiger stripes of acrylic claw marks crisscross his flesh in a tangle of tracks and trails. Watching him proudly display his battle scars from the evening, my cunt tightens, my clit strains against my underwear, and I need more. More of him. More of this vicarious sexual decadence. More fucking details. For years, we've operated under a policy of don't ask, don't tell, at least until there's something worth telling. And it's worked well for us when I was the perennial slut in a relationship. But with the roles reversed, I've had to spend agonizing days watching him smirk at his phone and flit around our apartment filled with the bubbly confidence, undisguised glee that only flirting with a new sweetie can give, all without even knowing the name of who he's been courting. The only thing I know for sure about the woman he's going to meet tonight is that she's also trans. Quelle surprise. But given their night looks like it went well, I want to know all about it. Weaving my fingers into the thick, dark mass of his hair, I draw his face down closer to mine. Not to kiss him, not quite yet. Instead, I nuzzle up against him, our cheeks barely grazing each other, my lips ever so slightly brushing against his earlobe. And in those achingly slow, electrically charged moments, Another raft of subtle, sumptuous details I hadn't yet noticed fall into focus. His full, luscious lips are tinted deep red from wine, lipstick, or both. And there's another trail of tiny nibbled bite marks climbing the length of his neck to disappear behind his ear, to say nothing of the fine, sticky sheen of dried cum, lube, and saliva that cover the entire lower half of his face. My, what has my boy been up to tonight? With a practiced move of my own, have his belt undone and fly unzipped in seconds. Now it's his turn to gasp as I slide my fingers down past the waistband of his underwear. The slow drag of my close-trimmed nails through his dense pubic curls leaves him grunting and gripping, all breathy, desperate, and worked up. Reaching a little lower, I tentatively glide a fingertip along either side of his slick, swollen T-dick. But he groans and eases himself away, clearly well past overstimulated for the night already. So he got his own. Good for him. I slip my hand out of his underwear and dip my sticky fingers between my lips, both savoring the tart testosterone bite of his juices and slicking my digits up for the trip past the waistline of my own underwear. With my spit and cum-soaked fingertips working their magic on my clit, I finally welcome him home with a kiss. As his plump lips melt into mine and his deliciously familiar tongue presses forward, hazy traces of the full-bodied red still staining his lips, and the unmistakable tang of a stranger's cunt flood my mouth. The rich cacophony of flavor like gasoline poured upon the raging flame of my desire. Tell me about her? The words spill out me messily, spilling into each other and laying bare my desperate hunger. Please? Well, he smiles to himself as I close my eyes, loll my head back, and begin to lose myself in masturbatory joy. For starters, she brought a girlfriend. So that one's not in the book, but it will be turning up somewhere at some point. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So I put the link to Laura's book in the chat, and we would love for you to check that out. That is, again, A Tight Squeeze, Smutty, Trans, and Queer Stories from the Queering Consent series from Microcosm. That's a great series in general, so check that out. Our next reader is Tobi Hill-Meyer, and let me pull up Tobi's bio. Tobi Hill-Meyer is an indigenous Chicana trans woman. She believes creating stories is a critical part of making change. They can give us strength, model paths to success, provide encouragement, and create greater empathy. She is dedicated to community support and fighting for positive change at a local level. Tobi's work has been in Best Lesbian Erotica, Ask, Building Consent Culture, Trans Bodies, Trans Selves, Take Me There, Beyond Binary, Coming Out Like a Porn Star, and Girl Sex 101. She is editor of the Lambda Literary finalist anthology Nerve Endings, The New Trans Erotic, author of the children's books A Princess of Great Daring and Superpower Baby Shower, and director of the award-winning erotic documentary series Doing It Online. So welcome, Tobi. Let me highlight you.
Well, thanks, everyone. I'm glad to be here. And I decided I wanted to pull out an unfinished story I had worked on years ago. And just today, I did a little bit more work on it. And so I have something new to share with you all. This story is called Does It Count? And the content tags for it are infidelity, orgasm denial, slapping, and here we go. Everyone in Trish's online community told her that she couldn't, that she should find some way to explore this part of herself. That it could be scary, but it would always be worth it. It was easy for them to say, she would think. They had already taken the plunge. Most of them were lucky enough to have nothing to lose. But for her, there was just too much on the line. If her wife wasn't on board, it could spell the end of their relationship. If it was used against her in a divorce, she would be lucky to ever see her kids again. The university she worked at had a morality clause. She was just beginning to repair her relationship with her parents after coming out as a lesbian 8 years ago. And imagining them finding out in a nasty divorce fight was gut-wrenching. When she began catastrophizing, she could imagine losing everything. But despite all her fears, she couldn't help but keep taking those steps forward. When she first looked up pro-doms, she had the image of the leather-clad vixen in her mind. And there were plenty of those, but Samira's ad was different. She was in a knit sweater that went down to her thighs, with a romance novel in one hand, a mug of tea in the other, and her bare brown legs resting on the back of a completely naked woman bound and serving as an ottoman. Trish came back to that ad 7 times before she finally booked her appointment. Driving to the unassuming building right on the edge of the suburbs, her heart was pounding. She parked and stared at the clock. She was 3 minutes early. So she waited. This was her final chance to turn back. She was utterly terrified to eat this forbidden fruit. The fear had never stopped her, but neither was it going away. At 1 minute until the hour, she exited the car, locked it, and walked to the door. She knocked. She waited. She had a sudden urge to run back to her car, but then the door opened. On her way home, she went to the grocery store. If Marcelina asked her why she was getting home from work later than usual, she wanted a reason that wasn't a lie. But it was a mistake. No questions came up, but now the fruit bowl is an illicit reminder of what she is doing to her relationship. When making PB&J sandwiches for the kids, she searches for another jar so she doesn't have to feed them her alibi peanut butter. The feeling of submission was so electric. Now that she knows what it's like, she can't help but imagine, she can't imagine a life never having another opportunity. She hates herself as she does it, but she can't help but schedule another session with Samira for the following week. And several times a day, she finds herself daydreaming about it. But does it really count as cheating with a sex worker? With a dom? I mean, of course it does, but in some ways it feels different. It's not like a relationship, except in the ways that it is, but that's different. Trish tortures herself with this question, wishing for an answer she knows isn't true. After her 4th session, they begin exploring orgasm denial. Turns out that is something Trish is very into. And a few sessions later, the denial is lasting in between sessions as well. She's only allowed 1 orgasm by herself for the week. And the next session, she's not allowed to come at all, unless her mistress gives her permission with the code word pumpernickel. Trish didn't think about how that would affect things with her wife until one night when Marcelina was feeling frisky at bed. She didn't want to break her denial without permission, but she also didn't want to disappoint Marcelina. She ended up faking it. One more thing to feel guilty about. Trish was now thinking about sex every day. It was an incredible feeling. She hoped to earn her orgasm each week, but it couldn't happen every time, or else it would begin to feel guaranteed. Tonight, Trish is sent home denied for the 3rd week in a row. She is so horny she touches herself in the car, bringing herself to the edge of orgasm over and over. She loses track of time and gets home later than planned. This night is the first time her wife asks her where she has been. She stammers, I had to work late. It was a horrible excuse. It sounds so cliche, but her wife believes it. Why wouldn't she? Marcelina even calls her over to the couch and offers her a back rub, since she had been working so hard lately and the kids were at sleepovers. It was also the first time she lied directly. The rest of the time it was just hiding the lie and not mentioning it. This feels different. It begins eating at her the entire night. Before bed, she just can't do it anymore. She falls to her knees at the side of the bed. Marcelina, I need something. She grasps her wife's hand and it all comes pouring out of her. The fantasies, the dirty stories, the fear, the dom, the lies. Marcelina sits up, puts her feet on the ground. Trish can't bear to meet her gaze and keeps her eyes downcast. But Marcelina reaches for her face and lifts her chin. As they make eye contact, Marcelina slaps her across the face, hard. I deserve that. Just because you didn't trust me enough to share your fantasy with me, you decided to cheat? Trish, I don't come from as conservative a background as you. And besides, I knew. Trish looked up at her in confusion. Remember when we went camping last summer? I left my home at phone, so you let me borrow yours to Google how to build a fire? But I only typed in how to and it began suggesting how to be a good submissive, how to talk to your partner about kink, how to find local pro-doms. Trish flushes. But why didn't you tell me then? You could have stopped me before I ever made an appointment. Well, I thought you were going to come to me on your own, and I wanted to give you space. It looked like you were going to. I took the time to read the stories you bookmarked on your account. Marcelina grabs a fistful of Trish's hair and stands up, raising Trish to her feet as well. It seems like a lot of this is about being of service and being good. Do you want to be good for me? Trish is uncertain for a moment, then answers, yes. Marcelina throws her sideways, knocking her off balance into the ground. Well, you haven't been very good to me lately. In fact, you've been very bad. Trish scrambles to her knees. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Shut up. Your sorry means nothing to me right now. Do you really think you can make up for this just by saying sorry over and over? She points at her feet. It takes a moment for Trish to understand. Then she crawls over and puts her head on the floor. Marcelina gently rests a bare foot on the side of her head. Tell me what you're going to do to make it up. I'm so sorry. Trish catches herself. I'll never see her again, or anyone else. I should have trusted you. I'll clean the house. I'll give you back ribs for a year. I'll use some of the vacation time I've saved up and spend the whole time doing any chores you want. Strip naked, Marcelina commands. Trish scrambles to comply. And when you're done, get back on the ground. Head down, ass up. With Trish in position, Marcelina slowly walks us around her in a circle. She takes her time, waiting just to see how Trish will respond. When she notices a slight shiver, she knows it's time. Marcelina's hand explores lower, running along the crease under her butt and reaching to her cunt. At the slightest touch, Trish lets out a gasp. She's been edged so many times, her body is so desperate. The way Marcelina is stepping into this role is quite a surprise. She wonders if it really is a role, or if Marcelina is simply giving herself permission to act out from her own hurt and anger. And while that isn't ideal, it is incredibly hot. And do you remember the thing I've been very interested in, but you've always been too nervous to explore? Her fingers come away slick with wetness. Trish panics for a moment. In theory, she wanted to explore that too, but something about it makes a lump catch in her throat. That's right. I'm taking your ass tonight. Her community accepted queerness in part because without penises and anal sex that gay men and trans people have, lesbianism seemed so much less threatening. And every time the two of them had talked about anal, she couldn't help but imagine the disapproval and disgust others would have for her. Of course, I won't if you tell me not to. But this is what I want from you. Is that okay? They had tried anal a few times, but she was never able to relax enough to get into it. Then it would get uncomfortable or even the slightest pain, and she had to call it off. But it had never been unbearable. If this was the cost she has to pay for forgiveness, she decided she will pay it gladly. Yes, it's okay. Is it okay, or do you want me to? Trish's cheeks flush hot. I want you to take my ass. She starts to say it on reflex, but realizes it's true. Being Marcelina's plaything is all she ever wanted. She's so desperate right now. Desperate to be accepted, desperate to be forgiven, desperate to be fucked, and most of all, desperate to fucking come. Marcelina places a wet finger over her asshole. She patiently explores the opening, warming Trish up. As the minutes tick by, Trish gasps and whimpers and finally begins rocking back and forth. She wants more. This is what Marcelina was waiting for. She presses one slick finger in, just a little bit, and pauses. Then she begins moving it slightly back and forth, focusing on the opening. Trish shudders. Can I touch myself? Go ahead. I want you to enjoy this. Marcelina releases one of Trish's hands. She presses her finger in further, moving through the second sphincter. Then she presses downward toward the back sides of Trish's clit and begins stroking back and forth. Trish's face presses deeper into the carpet as she discards her attempts to keep her neck comfortable and instead focuses everything into what she's feeling. Her hand flies back and forth over her clit. Almost instantly, she is close. Her mind slips to Samira's rules and she stops herself. The urge not to disappoint is overwhelming. Marcelina's other hand slips around Trish's neck. She growls, I didn't tell you you could stop. Trish is paralyzed with uncertainty, but at a direct admonishment, her hand resumes its motion. You thought you could ignore me and seek this out elsewhere. Next time, you'll either trust me and tell me from the beginning, or you'll do me the courtesy of ending our relationship first. Is that understood? Yes, Trish replies. The sensations in her ass run through her body like electricity, and everything feels more intense. She's moving slower this time, trying to draw out the pleasure, but it's beginning to plateau. Marcelina, can I, Marcelina's grip tightens, and in a husky voice she whispers to Trish's ear, Pumpernickel. The orgasm instantly rips through her. She's almost screaming as she bucks her hips to get the most out of it. Marcelina speeds up to match her rhythm and keeps matching it as Trish begins to slow. Eventually, Trish stops and Marcelina pulls out. Trish collapses onto her side, a drool mark visible in the carpet where her face had been. When she eventually returns to her senses, Trish looks up at Marcelina. Wait, how did you know that word? When I found out about Samira, I wanted to know more about what you'd been up to. So I booked an appointment with her myself. Trish's jaw drops as she stares in silence. Marcelina sits down on the bed. I just asked her to give me a crash course in domination. I've had rough sex with other partners before, but I wanted to understand what this means for you. She hesitates for just a moment before adding, and if you're really good, maybe we could see her together. Trish is still swimming in post-orgasmic bliss and is barely able to comprehend what she hears. That would be okay? I don't blame her for what happened. But you have a long way to go before earning that. And I hope you enjoyed that orgasm, because you're not getting another one until you've made me come twice for every session you've had with her. Well, that's my story. It was really fun to write. Interestingly, it's like the only story I've ever written that doesn't have a trans person. But I was thinking about this like desperate fear of being found out to be kinky, and that just wasn't quite fitting for someone who's already dealt with coming out as trans or having a trans partner. But yeah.
Thank you. So I dropped the link to Tobi's website higher up in the chat. We can drop it one more time. And our closing reader for tonight is the one, the only, Laura Antoniou. So I'm going to bring Laura front and center and read Laura's bio. So Laura has been writing queer, kinky, intellectually unruly fiction since the 1980s, back when she edited the gaming media magazine Gateways and wrote safer sex smut during the AIDS crisis. She is best known for the Marketplace series of BDSM novels, a long-running, genre-defining body of work celebrated for its sexual, cultural, and gender diversity, including one of the earliest trans male lead characters in erotic fiction. Her other work includes the Rainbow Award-winning comedy murder mystery The Killer Wore Leather, the erotic fantasy Silk Threads with Cecilia Tan and Midori, and dozens of short stories, essays, and anthologies across genres. Her writing has been translated into multiple languages and is frequently cited in discussions of erotica, gender politics, and queer literary history. A veteran public speaker, Laura has taught and lectured on kink, power dynamics, relationships, fandom, and Jewish sexuality at over 150 conferences and universities worldwide. She is the recipient of multiple awards, including Lifetime Achievement Honors from the National Leather Association and the Pantheon of Leather. She lives in New York, writes what she wants, teaches what she knows, and still refuses to behave. Please welcome Laura Antoniou.
Well, those were tough acts. Thanks. I must have changed my mind 6 times what I was going to read tonight, but I decided to read a story I wrote for Rachel Kramer Bussell for an anal sex erotica because I was inspired by the last reading. And so I pulled that one up real quick. And I did not prepare a content warning, but there's cheating going on, and there's butt sex, and there's Italian leather sofas. So if you are really offended by bad decorating, you may want to turn this off. It's fair to say that since becoming the man I always was, I've gotten more ass than I ever did when I masqueraded as a butch dyke. But now the asses that wound up under my dick or suspended from my hand or over my face were more likely to belong to straight ladies. This is fine with me, since I'm pretty straight myself. But back when I started injecting little oily bottles of testosterone and pumping iron and examining my chin for every goddamn new hair, I sort of figured straight ladies were going to want what I'll call a factory equipped dick. I was absolutely aftermarket, even though I must say I do come with all the latest options. So for a while, I continued to date lesbians who liked the masculine side of things in a lover, and then some hot bi babes, because, come on, who can resist hot bi babes? And that was cool. I wasn't in the mood to hook up and get engaged and then get married and be someone's husband anytime soon. I'm young and hung. I'm horny as fucking hell all the time now, and the world is full of beautiful women. One of my regular booty calls comes from Stella, a walking Craigslist ad. She is that frustrated housewife with a boring husband who goes off to work and hang with his boys, leaving her all alone. Boo-hoo! And she can entertain. Why, yes, she can. And far from being dismayed or puzzled by my new-made man self, she was decidedly enthusiastic. No spermicides, no pills, no diaphragm. Does that cock get any bigger? Was her gleeful response to my "don't scare the horses" pack and play. In response, I pulled some gloves out of my fuck kit, and she eyed my hands thoughtfully. "Do you like gin or scotch?" she asked, turning her back to sway over to the bar. I admired the view of her wide hips and the gentle arch made by her gorgeously tacky, marabou-enhanced mules. Her shoulder-length, deep brown hair was expertly highlighted with tawny savanna colors, her olive skin very perfectly salon-tanned. Everything about her screamed tryouts for Real Housewives of Portland, Oregon, up to and including the moment when she licked the twist of lemon for my martini. I wanted to fuck her so hard, it hurt. And soon, there we were, humping on her Italian leather sofa to old-school Depeche Mode. Did I mention she was a bit older than me? This only added to her appeal. I have always appreciated an experienced, horny woman. They are more likely to know what they want, more likely to teach me exactly what they want, and they know what gets them off. I treasure every one of these precious learning opportunities. I'm all about education. So Stella would call me when she had an itch, and soon it became clear that her itches became more specific. I'm down with that. When you got a particular thing that is your taste, your fantasy, your fetish, sometimes you don't exactly want to open negotiations with it. You lead the heart on to where it thinks the trail is, and then you kind of push the sex-crazed tool into a new direction. That's the best way of getting something a little out of the ordinary. For Stella, that meant her booty calls were exactly that, booty specific. I don't know what the big deal is about butt sex. It's a hole. Cocks, fingers, hands, dildos, vibrators, and that occasional oddball, rightly shaped thing that's on the coffee table, just sitting there, can all manage to fit in with the right amount of lube and a little bit of patience. Where they will often feel good. Moving them around feels even better. Whee! More sex! And is it dirty? What about sex isn't dirty? If you're doing it right. This is why soap and water exist. Also gloves and trick towels. And if someone wants to douche before the big date, I have no objection. In fact, I'll even help. Not that Stella was interested in enemas, but boy does she love a dick up her ass, especially when she's got a vibrator buzzing away at her clit, or my fingers in her pussy, or on her nipples, or as much possible sensation as I could manage for her. Nipple clamps came out a few times, freeing up my hands to fuck her pussy and frig her clit while my dick was pounding her ass. It just doesn't get much better than that, does it? It was the nipple clamps that led to the unexpected turn of our relationship. Seems that disappointing husband Dave was frequently the topic of after-sex chats, sometimes over drinks, sometimes while waiting for sweat to dry. Disappointing Dave, I opined one day, should be fucking Stella more often. Stella naturally agreed. Well, why don't you make him? I asked, dangling the nipple clamps. If you have these, surely you have a whip in the closet or something. Warm his buns and make him see the wisdom of pounding yours. But Dave thinks it's his job to be the dom, sighed Stella, and so he picks what we do, and it's, well, disappointing. Clearly, he is not living up to his role, I said. He is obviously waiting for you to put these on his man tits, jerk him over to the bed, and shove his face in your pussy. Try it one Saturday night. Let me know how it works out for you. Hey, I'm just like dear Abby. I'm helpful. Stella looked dubious and disinterested, but no worries. If the husband wasn't servicing her, I could always find time to come over and take care of her needs. Weeks go by until I realize she has actually taken my advice to heart. You know, I just shoved him on his back last weekend, sat on his dick, and told him he couldn't come until I did, and he didn't, she said with amazement one day. You go, girl, I congratulated her. And then another time, when we had to change the sheets on the bed because, well, J-Loop, it just gets everywhere. She paused and told me that she was starting to get disappointing Dave to be more cooperative by spanking his ass a little as her way of indicating that she was ready for boning. Does he like it? I asked. Well, Stella said, pondering for a moment, does make him hard. And I'm thinking maybe he's kind of a sub? Yeah, but you last longer than he does, I pointed out. Yeah, she sighed. He's still not the best fuck. Oh, well, I said, commiserating. I do my best. But at least he's getting it up more, right? And that's a plus. Then a few weeks after that, what with the summer sun, so hot it was too intense to stay out by the pool after I banged her on the picnic table, she showed me the leather collar, the cuffs, and the leash that she bought online. You kinky bitch, I said, slapping her fine ass. Yeah, she said, running her hands over the leather, but I wouldn't have known I had it in me if it wasn't for you. And that naturally led me to my wanting to find out just how far I could get into her, but this time in the air conditioning. I fucked her pussy first, then her ass, and when I was riding her from behind, my hands on her huge tit, she started moaning something that sounded like commands to lick her. I decoded that I was not hearing her correctly, and even if I was, the laws of physics kind of constrained me to my current doggy-style position. In any event, she came, I came, and nothing was said about licking. After a lunchtime date in the early fall, she was playing with the hair on my chest. Damn abundant hair, I must say. She asked if I ever fuck guys. These sorts of questions might offend a lot of gentlemen of my persuasion. Was she asking me about when I was a woman? About getting plowed in my vagina, now reclaimed and named my cockpit? But I have too many transfag brothers and bi/pansexual buddies of assorted orientations to get hung up on honest curiosity. Yeah, I admitted to her, I've been fucked by cocks, and I've fucked a guy or two, or maybe 7 or 8. The parties, you lose count. And a lot of my fag bros and pansexual buddies of assorted orientations. So, yeah, I do fuck guys. I'm open-minded. I'm heteroflexible. Yeah, that's what you could call me. Or slut. That's fine, too, if you say it with affection. So I tell her some stories about backroom fucks, and this one time, a guy answered my ad and showed up dressed like a chick, and I might have been the first dude to actually fuck him and not take a swing at him. He had amazing legs. Anyway, so she says, I was wondering, and I'm thinking, about time, if maybe you'd like to come over one night and fuck disappointing Dave. I don't know, I hedged. My brain was going, yeah? No? Nah, hell no, sweetheart. I've been fucking you for months and you just want to slip me in to bang your husband and maybe he won't notice that we seem to know each other very well? This would not be okay. Yeah, but she says, turning her sweetness on, you see, I've been fucking him. Like, this isn't the biggest news flash of her married life. Oh boy, you've been fucking him. Yeah, I guessed. I got a harness and a cock, and he loves it when I fuck him up the ass. But you know what? I want to see him get it from another guy. I think that would be really hot. And what does she do but pull out all this fag romance porn stuff about cowboys riding each other and firemen fucking and pirates boning and even some what the fuck weird vampire gay sex picture book. Seems she's all turned up on by two guys going at it now, which seems kind of weird to me until I think about it. I mean, I like to watch lesbian porn myself. Two chicks, no dick, means more pussy for me. So why wouldn't a straight lady like to watch two dudes banging without a skinny silicone-titted bimbo making her wonder if her tits are the right size? Which, for the record, and I must repeat, her tits are perfect in every way. Just the thing to bury your face or dick into anytime. So yeah, I could see why she wants it, but maybe she should recruit some other guy for this. Someone, not as familiar. Oh, but you're perfect, she purrs at me. You could just be a little bigger than me and rougher, and you won't go all psycho and think we're going to be some kind of threesome forever afterwards. Those were good points. And to be honest, she was hot enough to make me believe I was the stud of studs, invincible and irresistible. And when a lady has that kind of grip on your psyche, it's kind of easy to get caught up in her fantasies, which is how I wound up getting all dressed up in my leather daddy clothes for a hot date with my booty call and her formerly disappointing husband, Dave. She wanted me to be dominant? Can do. Tall engineer boots, tight jeans with my best fucker outline so clearly along my thigh you'd thought I was smuggling salami. Big ass leather belt, leather shirt, titty clamps looped around the epaulette, condoms, lube, gloves, the attitude to accessorize, and I was more than ready to play the role. So, what is he? I asked her before we go to the red letter day. Is he some kind of pussy boy? Is he a slave? Is he a faggot? Is he supposed to like it or hate it? Am I supposed to be nice to him, the nurturing, sensitive guy, breaking straight ass cherry, or totally fucked up and nasty, getting back at him for every gay basher who ever sneered on TV? It made her think a lot. This role playing stuff is not for pussies. You gotta approach it carefully. Make sure you got your roles right. We agreed she'd call me by my full name if she wanted me to back off, so she could check in with disappointing Dave. And I agreed that when my part was done, I'd slip out so fast you'd think I had the Lone Ranger's horse tied up to the front porch. She had him all warmed up by the time I let myself in. Oh, yeah, she'd been topping the shit out of him, no doubt, because there he was, stretched out across the back of their Italian leather sofa, his arms stretched out to the sides and tied to the front legs while his ankles were tied to the back. He had a big padded blindfold on, and I could see my clamps weren't needed because Stella already had his titties all clamped and waited. What a clever little minx my girl was. Riding crop marks were on his pale chest, too, and a very, very red ass was turned in my direction. Stella had kept her mules on. She knew I liked it. But otherwise, she was as naked as Dave, making me kind of overdressed for this party. But image is everything. Stella grabbed Dave's hair, jerked his head up. I got a surprise for you, she says in a sing-song voice. I got you a real BDSM leather daddy to fuck your ass tonight. Fuck you so I can watch you get reamed by a big, nice cock the way you really need it. Shit, that made me hard right there. I do love it when a babe talks dirty. She let Dave squirm a little and shoved the edge of the blindfold aside, and I quickly stomped in close so he saw the leather and hopefully the outline of my dick. But I want you, he immediately starts whining, even though I could see his jaw moving and his tongue licking his lips, and goddamn if he didn't start to drool. I only want you, he insisted. And what I want is to see you fucked, Stella says, pulling me in closer. I rub my crotch against his face, letting him feel my shaft and pulling his lips across the leather on my belt and then my shirt. Then I shoved his head down so he could get a good look at the boots. And yeah, that was the right move. Lip licking turned out to full speed drooling, enough so I got a splash of it on my right boot. I suppose I could have done some sort of, oh, now I gotta punish you thing for that, but we agreed that I had to be more of a teaching daddy dom type. You know, okay, I thought. So you think I could take my cock? I asked him. You think any virgin manhole can take a real dick? You think it's going to be like how you bone the missus here, all soft and wet? And I walked away while Stella adjusted the blindfold back, and he made more noises like he doesn't like it. But his cock is so hard it is also dribbling over the back of the sofa, getting all that leather all slimy and wet. That didn't seem to really upset him either. I had to admit the view from behind wasn't exactly something to inspire. He was okay, I guess, for a guy, not badly out of shape, and he was clean, he didn't smell bad, but there was nothing about him that actually called to my dick. Luckily, Stella was there, tugging on his tit clamps while shoving her own boobs in my direction and shaking them. It was like dangling them just far enough away for me to have to slam my dick into Dave's butt just so I could reach the goodies. That was incentive. But it could get so much better. Come over here, bitch, I said, grinning at her. Get my cock covered and wet for your husband so it doesn't hurt him so much. She did like this. She planted a big kiss on him before skipping around the couch with me and making busy with a condom. Yeah, I'm going to get my dick all wet in your wife's mouth, I informed Dave, whose dong is perfectly happy with this, although his mouth is making sounds like he's really upset. Stella is happy to make gobbling sounds at me for a minute or two, but then we have to get down to the real business of slicking up his back door for my fuck. It would be nice if spit made good lube, but what can you do? This ain't porn. Since she was more familiar with this hole, I let her apply the gloppy stuff, and I worked my dick as she finger-fucked her husband, getting a healthy amount of the stuff up his hole. She asked him if he was ready for his first taste of man-cock, and he swore he'd love no cock but hers. That seemed to be the time to get him acquainted with mine, so I told her to put me in him. Yeah, I said, I'm not just going to fuck him because you said so. You got to get me in there, and while you're down there, start squeezing his balls. Oh, and kiss mine. He liked that so much, he started humping away like there was a pussy under him. And actually, aiming for that moving hole did require some focus. But with Stella's help, I got the head in, and the rest, sliding home, baby. This man wasn't just ready for cock, he ate it. His ass swallowed me with as much suction as her mouth could, and it was so surprising I gasped. Suddenly, my growling at him to take my big cock seemed completely unnecessary. I should have worn the bigger one, damn it. This is what happens when you let someone else's estimate get control of your artistry. But I delivered the required lines with as much bluster as I could. Stella must have thought it was a little lame, though, and suddenly she was squirming up against my body, rubbing her pussy and tits against me like I was her own Italian leather sofa. Hey, I said to Dave, looks like your wife is hot for some fucking. Pity you ain't in any condition to bang her, getting banged yourself. Maybe I could be a buddy, though, and help you out. Oh, no, he starts wailing, humping back at me so hard I almost fell. Don't fuck my wife, too. I looked at Stella and shrugged. She grinned, and the next thing you know, she piles herself on his back, straddling him, facing me. He gives this big oof sounds as she settles in, big girl that she is, and spreads her legs wide over his ass. I grind my dick deep into Dave and pull out a glove. I am so hot for Stella right now. I wish I did have 2 dicks attached so I could fill her up right. Or 3, just to make sure she had no complaints. But one was busy pronging her husband, so I greased up my hands and slid a couple of fingers up her ass with no resistance at all, and she was more ready than he was. Hot damn. Too bad you can't feel how tight your wife's ass is, but boy, I informed Dave, who was panting and groaning, 'cause I can. She's tight like your virgin pussy's tight, and I'm gonna fuck you both until you walk funny. Fingers up her ass, cock up his. I am in heaven. And right at this moment, I do not care he's a dude. All I care about is I got all the ass in this house, baby. I am the awesome master. I laughed and fingered her pussy with my other hand, my hips churning like a piston. She's laughing too, crying out, fuck me, yeah, fuck my tight ass. Like I needed instruction at this point. But I took the encouragement and I reamed them both. Stella squeezed her tits and she came, banging her ass down on her husband's back, almost falling right off. But I kept finger fucking her until she finished screaming, and then I grabbed Dave by the hips, pounded into him like a jackhammer. She rolled off to one side, not very graceful, but all loose. A well-fucked kind of tumble. Her hair spreading over the leather of the sofa, her skin glistening with sweat and lube and cum. She scrambles up next to David's head and cradles it, shoving his face in her tits. "Suck my tits!" she screams. "Come on, get your mouth sucking or I'll make you suck his cock too." And well, that finished me. I ground and groaned and felt my cum just start way, way down low and erupt up like a shaken pop bottle. I didn't just cum. I fucking exploded, cursing, my hands tight on Dave's ass. I came so hard, I got dizzy and staggered back a little. I had to steady myself while I watched Dave suck on his wife's tits and splatter his juice all down the back of that nice sofa. I was true to my word, though, and as soon as I could stand and put my dick away, I stumbled out into the autumn air. My cock felt hot and wet against my thigh, and I ached with an intense sexual afterglow. Behind me, I left a husband and a wife, both fucked, both pleasured. I figured I'd done my Boy Scout good deed for the day. And for what I'll tell Stella if she asks if I'd let Dave suck me off, I don't know. It's not like he makes me hot, but okay. Maybe I'm a little more bi than I thought if my body could react like that if I had a dude and a lady at the same time. Or maybe I'm just a slut, and I'm good for doing what the lady wants, and someone like Stella could get me to do whatever she wants. Either way, I think I can live with it. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Laura. The chat has been amazing tonight. If folks have not been paying attention, thank you for just a wonderful, enthusiastic audience in the chat. I've loved watching all of your reactions. So fun to be here with all of you tonight. It's been a great crowd. I'm going to post the general link that has everybody's books in it here, so you can go look at everybody's books. We really do appreciate you when you support Charis by buying books from us. We also appreciate when you check books out of the library. I think it's important now more than ever to request that libraries carry books like this. Do not be shy. Ask for what you want and let the librarian figure it out. We hear consistently from librarians that they actually want to have data that says that people want queer and trans erotica, romance, and just, general fiction and nonfiction. So one thing you can do as a tiny little act is to ask for what you want. It's important right now. So if they'll carry heated rivalry, they should carry all this other stuff too. That's for queer and trans people by queer and trans people, right? So thank you again to Sinclair Sexsmith for organizing tonight. We love you, Sinclair. It's so nice to have you back in the space. For folks who are wanting something to do tomorrow night, our Valentine's Day party continues. We will be hosting All Our Exes. It's a poetry reading that we're really excited about, a virtual poetry reading with a ton of really great poets. And then for folks who are physically in Atlanta, we will be hosting a film screening of Blood Sisters, Leather Dykes, and Sadomasochism in collaboration with a queer BDSM, COVID safer BDSM group called Heavy Breathing. So it's going to be a really fun weekend. We'd love to see you at any of these things. And if not at these things, at a Charis event real soon. So stay safe, be well. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight.